Cendrine. We're on.
Okay, we're on.
Yep.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Hello, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Cendrine. It's good to be together again.
Definitely. Hello, Kelly.
Hi. How are you both? Awesome. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very well. I am, but I know Stephen is too. We're very excited to have you today. So for those who don't know Kelly, which I highly doubt, a lot of people know Kelly because as soon as I say Kelly, everyone is like, "Oh, the Kelly." So Kelly is one of the best community builders I know, and I know a lot of people say that too. So I'm very excited to have you tonight to talk about community building online. Which is a very important tactic if you want to be there for the long run. So I met Kelly, half a decade ago, if I can't remember that right, when she worked for Paperly. And Kelly launched a Twitter chat that became one of the fast-growing Twitter chats. That was called Biz Heroes, still exists, but Kelly doesn't host it anymore. But she did a great job because everyone knows Biz Heroes now. But now Kelly does other things, and I would like you to tell us what you're doing now.
Gosh, I do lots of other things now. Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And, I can't not resist an opportunity to talk about community because it's just my, it's my passion, favorite thing to do. So right now I am helping small businesses and startups with building community to enhance business operations. So really helping, in short, even if they have existing operations in place, then to optimize to reach goals, or to start communities from scratch to help them really build their business. And it's not so much as a marketing tactic, but it's really a very holistic, how can you work with the people who know and love you most to help you build your business for the future. So I'm working with a few different companies. Can I shout them out? Can I give some shameless plugs? So I'm working with Plumlytics, based in Toronto, and have been helping them. That was even more on a startup side, helping them come to launch, and they just launched last week. That was very exciting. I work with a neurotechnology company in Lausanne called MindMaze. They're doing amazing things. So I'm working on social media strategy and building various communities in the neuroscience and the medical field, along with the consumer field. And I work with a company called TechSpark Academy, the same thing, bringing together community around coding for kids. So that's really exciting, and all very different applications, all very different businesses. But the one thing that always stays the same is the people in the community. And you absolutely need to have that relationship to move forward. So that's where I'm at. Okay. And right now I'm physically in Belgium. Not in Switzerland at all.
Stephen, you have a question, or you want me to continue?
If you go with your questions first, and then I'll sort of mix in my curiosity about community building.
For sure. So I know you've been working on I think we can call it a startup, if I'm not mistaken. It's called Community Works, and this startup helps entrepreneurs, startups, and small businesses develop community-centric social media strategies. So my question to you is, what really triggered your desire to build that startup? And is there a specific story behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. And the story is, it really came from, so when I was at Paperly, and even before Paperly, I think I started building community from my very first job when I worked on the sales floor at a ski store. And that really didn't dawn on me until later on in my career, how important community was. And at the ski store, we were very much attached to winters. It was only ski, and we were a high-end store. And we were dependent on the customers coming back and bringing friends in, regardless if we had good winters or bad winters. We really needed the people to come in, and the people, our customers, to come back to us. And at some point, there was another ski store opened up down the street, and it was called Any Mountain. And we just kind of called them the deep discount, deep pocket discounters. And they had like 7 stores and massive buying power. And what I realized is our relationships with our customers at that time, we used to organize bus rides. We would take busloads of people up to Tahoe. I'm from California. So I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and Tahoe is about 4 hours north of where we were. And I and the owner's son used to get up at 3:00 in the morning and organize 2 Greyhound buses for families to take these families up to Tahoe to go ski and come back. And we did this for a few years, and it worked out. There was no kind of rhyme or reason behind it or why we started it. We just thought we needed to do something to offer our clients more than just products and services. So what kind of non-tangible services could we offer? And it happened just to coincide with some really bad winters, or winters with lack of snow, when we started these. And what we found was that even though this new ski store opened down the street that could beat us by price easily, I think we were 30% higher than they were. And even though the snow was not falling and the winters were no longer wonderful, we didn't see a drop in revenue, and we didn't see a drop in clientele. We actually saw more people coming in and bringing friends. And it was all because of this community that we had built, taking people on buses up to the ski resort. And the bus trips kind of paid for themselves. We just charged a minimal amount for the seats, but we provided the transportation. I think we threw in ski clothing, ski rentals for free. And that was really the point where I lived the power of community. They really helped us through these years where we had awful seasons. We didn't want to close the store. We didn't know what to do. But our community, by reaching out to them and giving them something to love us for, rallied around us. So fast forward 20 years. No, that's a lie, like 30 years. So I was really young when I worked at that ski store. The principles still remain the same. And going through each of my jobs and my careers, my roles and positions, be it sales or marketing, the need and the results and the reward when you give and you give to your community to get back, you can propel your business in different ways. So my last stop at Paperly, after building and working with this amazing group of people for 5 years on developing products and augmenting support when we didn't have enough support personnel, and seeing all of the different ways that we could use community, made me stop and think, I think there's a model behind this where we can work with community to start helping companies really build community and think past just marketing. How can people, how can this tribe market for us, but how can they develop businesses? And that was the inspiration for building Community Works. It was really the idea of starting very small. I work with a couple of people, and the idea is really to work with the community of women and men that I've met who are freelancers who want to help other companies build community to reach their goals, and hope to spread the good word of community really past marketing. I think community is starting to get it has kind of gotten a bad rap of a lot of marketers have hijacked and taken advantage.
No. Can I just ask just a layman's question, because I'm here to learn. Okay, what is community to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Community to me is tapping into a group of people and building relationships around, I guess, a similar purpose. And it's really about being able to connect with people on a very human level and find that one thing that drives you all forward together. And then being able to work together in that manner to achieve wonderful things. And what you achieve together, it might not always be the same. It could be very different, but there is some common purpose in there that brings you together and continues the journey together.
And in an online world, where would you start to build a community? Are we talking Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. It depends, and that sounds so wishy-washy, doesn't it?
No.
I think it depends. I don't think that they're. So I work with smaller businesses, and I think, and I see this very often. You need to start somewhere. You don't know where to begin, and you need to begin by going out and experimenting and seeing where your most passionate audience, your most passionate connections lie. And very often the place where you start community might be where the founder of the company is most active, or where one employee or team member is most active. And I think from there, because you have to take root somewhere, you start to bring people together around what you're doing. And you can trickle out and experiment with other platforms to see what works. But I think in the beginning, it really, and I see over and over, it can be so varied. You know, I work with one company who Twitter just isn't working for them. For me, it's so difficult because I love Twitter, right?
Yep.
We're moving it to Facebook. It's all about Facebook for them. And I would have never in the beginning said, I think it's going to be about Facebook. But for them, it is. And so a lot of it is, it's just trial and experimentation. And I think a lot of companies are, unfortunately, they're scared to experiment. Because they have pressures internally about where should we be? Where are we going to get the best investment for our time and our money? And until you experiment, you just don't know. And sometimes the places that are best for you aren't the places maybe that a company thinks is sexy and where they want to go. And that's a really hard sell within the organization, right? To say, gosh, it's actually LinkedIn. Surprise, it's not going to be Blab. Or it's not going to be,
Do you feel that success in a community is hard work? Hard won?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, so to be involved in community, and I think the people who are building community and interested in community are people. So they love communicating and being around people. So for people who, I can imagine very well being in an organization and someone saying, oh, I see you have a Facebook account. I want you to be on Facebook and start, interacting with people. And that happens a lot. Oh yeah, we know someone, Joni, she's great at Facebook. Really? Yeah, she has an account. It's like, okay. And if Joni's not a people person and she doesn't really interact and doesn't enjoy it, it's going to be a lot of hard work, and it probably won't take root. So I think having the right people in place makes that hard work that much less seem like work, but there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Absolutely. I think so. Yeah. And I think people, community builders love the effort though. I think it's not like, what a job. It's like, God, I can't wait to go out and interact and connect. Right. Yeah.
So there's a goal in mind, and as long as you're heading towards that goal, the hard work is worth it. Right. Cendrine, over to you. And, your next question, because you did that to me earlier. I wasn't ready with the question. But
that's great. You had many. That's great. You mentioned trials and errors. I was wondering, because that's something I recommend people to do for small businesses and so on and so forth. But would you recommend a company to try their hands everywhere, or bring the community to their website? In terms of building, do you start from Facebook, then you bring people to your website, or how do you recommend doing it?
I think so. I think it depends on a couple of things. It depends on how many resources do you have, right? And if you're a really small team, then you probably only have one person active on handling social media and building community, and maybe that might even, depending on the business, might even be the same person who is taking care of support. Could be social support, could very much be combined into one. So you might be building a lot of community through your support. Like we used Zendesk at Paperly, where you could set up forums, and you could even, and we empowered our users and super users to answer questions, also ask questions. So they were active on the forums. But I would say, like in that case, if you're a service like an SAS and you provide a service to someone, your first community effort might very much be through your support portal. And that's great. And then using whatever social channel you have to complement that. And I'm thinking a little bit when at Paperly, one of the first places, so support was definitely the first community I built. And then after, I went to Twitter, and there was a lot of crossover because I did a lot of social support via Twitter. But then it went to tweet chats, and I didn't start our own tweet chat. I was building community through other people's Twitter chats. Mm-hmm. So I don't think you necessarily have to own those channels. You need to be present, and you need to know who you're connecting with and why you want to be present in Twitter chats, let's say, for example, or on Blabs, really active on the Blab platform. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely build community on what I would call, leased property. And it's very effective, and you reached a really broad way, and that's an excellent place to experiment. You reach so many different people.
Right. I've got a friend. I'll just tell you my little story. I've got a friend called Dan, and he and his wife Paula 5 years ago started a chocolate factory in their kitchen at home. They started making chocolate, which they sold at the local market, and they did very well out of it. But at the same time, they started a Facebook group. And the Facebook group wasn't entitled with their business, it was for raw chocolate lovers. Yeah. Nice. So anybody who likes raw chocolate, whether it's in relation to their company or not, he started the group, and that group is now thriving. And he's built up an emailing list from that. And when he has special offers, he can send out. So community works is what I'm saying, and he enjoys it. And it's coming across that you really enjoy building something that works for the companies that you're engaged with.
Absolutely not. Stephen, I think that's such a great example because he's being helpful, right? So he starts this group, this Facebook group, based on something that he obviously loves very much. It's not a brand group for his chocolate products, but about raw chocolate. So he's going to bring in and draw and attract chocolate lovers worldwide to this group. Indeed. And the benefit then, if he's done this well and has a really thriving group, is of course people are going to check out, like, who is this guy and where does he work, right? So that's definitely the side benefit. And I think those are the best communities when you go out and you're genuinely interested in starting a movement or creating a group around something that you're passionate about and that you love. Because we all like to then, when we meet somebody and we dig a little deeper, right? We click on a profile, we see who they are, we stalk them. Let's be honest. We don't even check them out. We stalk them. And I think that's kind of an unsaid, and it's incredible how many companies I speak with who don't, managers and marketers, they've never thought of it that way. They've really thought, and I think that comes from previous marketing experience, right? You have the product and you literally set it in front of someone's face. It's just planted there and it's so obvious. And marketing today is just not at all obvious. The less obvious it is, the better it works. And so your friend has probably done an outstanding job because it's just not obvious. He's just bringing together people who love raw chocolate. And like, who doesn't love raw chocolate? No.
Yeah, and he was one of the first people I interviewed on Blab because he was celebrating 5 years in business. Because they moved out of the kitchen, they've now got a factory, and they're now supplying national chains throughout the UK.
Oh, that's great.
He really enjoys the social media side of it. It comes naturally to him. As you were saying earlier, it's nice having just the person who's just got a Facebook account. It's the person who understands a Facebook account and the Facebook ways of working.
I think so. And he's really smart too, because you said that he pulled, he's created from that group, he created an email list, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I think that, So I read an interesting book, and this is what I really saw when I was working at Paperly also, that, audience, you call it community, call them audience. You can build audience into communities, and people like to label things differently. I don't like to get stuck on it, but if you have a passion and you have a skill and you have knowledge to share, you can create a thriving, active group of people. You can draw in an audience before you ever have a product to sell. And from that, you can start. So he could have just started with the raw chocolate Facebook group and not even had a product, but had such a thriving community around that when he decided, I think we're going to go into business, he could have used that community of chocolate lovers to test new products or to bounce ideas around. And hey, I'm thinking about this, and let me start that email list. And would you guys be interested in getting my chocolate tip of the week and what have you? So imagine people who do that, how powerful that is. And still so few companies are doing that. And I read this, the book by Joe Pulizzi, his last book or newest book, his latest book, I guess, Content Inc. And it's a phenomenal book. And it's not specifically about community building. It's about how to build a business before you ever have an idea and how important the audience building is in that. And it's an amazing, amazing book. For me, the parallels, or not even parallels, it's so much of it focuses on the community building. It's incredible. And he talks about copy blogger. He speaks about, and the name, I forget the name now. He's the man who kind of put a tilt on like hot chili peppers. He talked about hot chili peppers based on taste and not hotness. So, and it blew up. Like he had this amazing community of chili pepper lovers, and he's famous now on YouTube. I don't know. But I mean, things like this where you think, chili peppers, like who would ever imagine, right? And in some ways that's even more obscure than chocolate. Like I can imagine loving chocolate. I'm not sure that I'm like a pepper lover, but there are people out there, and he just found that little tilt in it, right? Just like your friend, it's not just chocolate. It's not the chocolate from my kitchen. It's raw chocolate. Like that's cool, right? So that's his tilt there. And I think a lot of times the people who start these companies, they're people. They really start their ideas by just bringing together people who also share the same passion. It's so powerful.
So I'm wondering, like to tie this to something else about building community. I know we talk a lot about user-generated content, and I think it ties into the group as well, the Facebook group you were mentioning, Stephen. So my question is, what role does user-generated content play in building trust between companies and fans?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, just imagine, how great is it when someone recognizes you, just period, right? How much greater even does that make you feel when a brand recognizes something that you've done? At the end of the day, I'm just a person. If Nike shared my, Nike cookies, my photo of Nike cookies that I made for my daughter's birthday on Instagram with their community, I would be a Nike fan for life. I mean, it just wins me over. I think it's right there, sharing content that your fans, the people who love you and know you most, when you share their content to help position yourself and brand yourself and give back to them, you just win these amazing hearts, and trust is with it, because it's just the biggest compliment. Being acknowledged for what you do and who you are is just one of the biggest compliments that we can give people. You're giving them time and recognition for what they do. And I love it when my friends, my family recognize me. When a brand goes out of the way, it's phenomenal. And I think the brands, they're slowly starting bigger brands faster than small ones. They've got it. All of their marketing strategies are focusing on their ambassadors, their super fans, and co-creating and co-collaborating, because that is the way to spread the message. They don't need to position themselves with their own marketing anymore. No one wants to buy it anyway. If a company tells me how great they are, I'm not going to believe it. If I see, 10 other people, 20 other people, 100 other people, a Twitter stream full of people telling me how great and sharing the content around, then I believe them. So I think it's a very smart strategy. And a lot of the smaller companies I work with, it's harder for them. I think that's a real leap of faith and trust. And it can be a bit of a harder sell. Not everybody, I notice here in Europe, it's slower than in the US. People, it's not, Europe is not known as a sharing, let's call the whole, I don't like to lump Europe as, there's so many countries and cultures and people, but in general, it's not like North America. It's not a sharing economy. It's not a open up and wear your heart on the sleeve and, make friends with everybody right away type of place. So it's a bit different. The UK is far more advanced.
Yeah, the cultures are different. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've got 2 tech companies that you're helping and assisting and pointing in the right direction. What sort of hurdles do they face? Because they're presumably, they are at the moment small brands and they want to become bigger brands.
Yeah. So one of them is it's an interesting, it's a really interesting challenge for me because their main product is summer camps and vacation camps for kids.
Yep.
So technology. So they offer, that's TechSpark Academy, and they offer coding, so Python and Swift and Scratch and robotics, 3D printing. So week-long camps to get kids literate, digital literacy and really supporting STEM track. And what's difficult there is we live in, Switzerland. It's a very multi-culti country. So all of a sudden you think about, okay, who are we targeting? We're probably not targeting the kids, or maybe we'd like to, but we're a small team. It's only vacation camp, so it's not a full-time organization. This comes back to your question, Cendrine, where do we go first? We know they're on Snapchat and WhatsApp, but their parents are on Facebook. Who do you hit first, right? And
Yes.
this has been a real challenge to me. There are no full-time resources. It's the startup is absolutely phenomenal. It was started by a woman, Marta Gehring, and she worked with students at the EPFL. So it's student taught classes. Everything is, I would say, even for the most part, a very volunteer type basis. So you have all of these challenges, and it's been really interesting because that's a company where we say, okay, I say we shoot for the parents, but another part of me says we need to experiment and see if the kids can carry that message better than the parents can. Mm-hmm. But how do you do that with limited resources? Where do you begin? Yeah, so that we're experimenting. That's it. Hands up. Who has the answer? I don't have the answer. So here I am, right? It's like, sure, it's all about community first. But we need to sell courses. We need to get the, we need to pay the teachers. So we need to experiment, but we also need to make sure that we hit the right audience, that we can get the word out so we can book the course, So it's a lot of experimentation. And a lot of it has been, I've had a lot of failures and email marketing. Like I'm accustomed to sending out emails, 300, 400,000 emails and having a good 37% open rate. I'm sending out emails and, it's like dismal. So it's been this incredible experience of, gosh, what I know, what worked for me yesterday may not work today, and it's not working today. So what am I going to do for tomorrow? And I think that's something and what's been really interesting being able to work with different companies is to see, we are just legends in our own mind. Like seriously, it's like, well, they're like, is this what you expected? No, it's not what I expected. I'm so sorry. We're going to have to work on that. You feel like, oh God, they hired the expert, which I'm not at all. I don't think any of us are really experts, but it's very humbling. Yeah. Very humbling. So that's one company, and I'm just scrambling. We're just trying new things. Let's try again. And then the other company is that MindMaze, this neurotechnology company, incredible, working with VR, AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, brain-computer interface, all of these wonderful things to help stroke patients and neurorehabilitation. Mm-hmm. And that's easier in a sense where we have a very strong Swiss community. The startup ecosystem in Switzerland is very vibrant, so they carry messages very far. And then we're working on building community within the neuroscience, within the therapist community. So lots of different communities for healthcare. And that's been interesting, but somehow easier because you're targeting the people that you'll work with the kids, and you're starting out, you're targeting the parents because they pay the bills, but the kids are the ones who spread the word. So that's just been a truly interesting. So I'm studying a lot clothing, Abercrombie and Fitch or clothing manufacturers and brands. Like, how do they do it? Because they need to tap into the parents' pocketbook, right? But smaller ones that have very small budgets that I can relate to. Not Abercrombie and Fitch is actually the wrong. That's actually the wrong example because they don't have budget problems. But no, so
I guess you must adjust the message, right? That must be the really, really hard thing to do, right?
Yeah, all the time. And that's where I think it's really important too, where I can say, okay, I can help set I can help set the strategy. We can talk about the tactics. We need someone young and we need someone who speaks their language to help craft the messages, because I, as a mom, I understand the message that's coming to me. So I'm getting the open rates up on those emails because I'm talking to moms, but I cannot talk to those kids. I look like a complete poser, right? It's just like, I need to get my daughter in here. Can you craft this for me? What do we need to say on on Snapchat? What do they want to hear? What, this photo, is this right? She's like, no, that's not right. Oh God, that's terrible. Like, you're snapping for adults, mom. Kids don't snap like that. Okay, it's good. And this is where I think it's really interesting when we talk, even in terms of marketing and definitely community building, it needs to be multi-generational today. I think it's definitely, we hear a lot about the millennial mindset, or, we need to bring all of the mindsets together. And I think that's how we're truly going to build better communities and really get people to gel. I know that in certain instances, I can't do it on my own.
Does the community have to be allied to the company, or can it be a totally different topic?
I think it can be a totally different topic as long as it has to be it has to be in the company's and the community's best interest.
Right.
So, you can be helpful. I'm trying to think of an example. You can provide help on topics. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of, I don't know, now I'm pulling a blank. Let's say, a recruiting company could talk about a lot of different areas. They could talk about pensions, or they could talk about, I don't know, whatever is going to address a certain target audience, and not at all talk about their product or their service. But it definitely needs to be helpful, and they need to be hitting that target audience. And it needs to benefit the community itself, or people aren't going to want to participate. There has to be something in it for them.
Yeah. Kelly, you've just gone audio only. Is that the same for you, Cendrine? I'm
sorry, what?
Can you still see Kelly?
Oh, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right, okay. It could all be mine. Sorry about that. We'll edit that out of the final. Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you, it's real world for software houses. I'm thinking of 3 software houses here, my own, and a company called Thrive in the UK, and a company called Chat Tweet in the States, all of whom could be considered startups with products which fulfill specific needs. So if you were building a community for that type of business, and it's a personal question, what action would you take? Just not detailed, just...
Yeah, I think you need to know, first I would look within the organization, what pain points do. I think it can go both ways. You can say, my company is running really well. Everything is great. We're small, but we're thriving. I want to start building community to improve product development, or to gain ideas, or to carry word of mouth. Let's say everything's going well. I think we could, boost our sales force. And I'd like to do that through community. you could start there. I think a lot of companies can look at community and say community building efforts and say, boy, you know, we have a real problem with customer support. We can't scale. How could bringing on super users and ambassadors to support, to help us with support and helping our users or our clients, could that benefit us, and how could it benefit them? So I think it's always a matter of looking at where the pain points are within the organization. And I know for every company, hands down, there's a group of people out there that want to work with you. They love you. They want to be tied in with you. They're just waiting for the opportunity. They're waiting for you to open the door and say, boy, do we have something for you today. We actually want to build our business hand in hand with you for tomorrow and be a part of it. We're going to extend that team. But I think it's a matter of, you just need to know, the first place is to know, where are you hurting? And then know, what is your community looking for? Like at Paperly, we had, not all community members were equal. Some really wanted to be involved in the software, not so much the development because we didn't have open APIs, but they were just dying to be testers. They wanted to help test. Right. They wanted to be a part of product releases. So we developed a community for that. Some of them really loved the service. They were Paperly experts. So we put them to work, quote unquote. It wasn't work at all, but we said, gosh, you know, why don't you guys help us train other users or help other users in the field? They loved it. And what did they get in return? Shameless shout outs, lots of recognition, you know, and a lot of advertising for their business. At Paperly, our small business users, our owners, they, you know, their biggest pain point was not having the budget to promote their business. So we helped them that way by, you know, featuring them in newsletters or using shout outs on Twitter, Facebook. They could be guests on chat. So there are a lot of ways that companies can really give back to the community and receive from them at the same time.
Wonderful. That helps.
And I think for software houses, I think it's always like, and in product companies, it's product testing. Like, gosh, you know, you always need testers. They help you find bugs faster. They help you, release faster. So being tied to a product, you feel like a rock star. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Right. So,
and that speaks to what I always say. People want to witness your journey because they're expecting to deal with a human being, right, and not a robot or a machine. So that's always great. So if you were given the choice, would you choose a super user or a celebrity to endorse your company? What do you think is
a super user? I truly believe, and we saw this too. And I still see this. It's not a matter of the person who has the most followers. It's about the person with the biggest passion and the most passion. So give me someone who loves my product and has 10 people following them over someone with 10,000 who doesn't love my product, because I'm probably only going to get 10 retweets out of them anyway. And they're never going to say anything more. I'm going to have this person who has 10 followers who's just talking left and right about the product. They're going to really infect their smaller community with the enthusiasm and the love. And then those people are going to be totally turned on. They're going to check it out, and so on and so on and so on. So I'll always take the smaller numbers. I'm all for small. I'm all for small. The small data, I say.
And growing enthusiasm is key.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's kind of funny because, and I'm probably going to sound so weird saying this, but we, I think everyone's had this experience before where you just have someone who is just into you on a social channel. They just adore you, right? And you're like, who is this person? And is that creepy or is that cool? Right? But as long as they're not bonkers, bizarre, it's really cool. And I think people don't know what to do with other individuals who, be it a brand or an individual who they just like you so much. So don't be scared of them, embrace them and work with them, because these are people who are so invaluable to you. They're just like, they are your fans, and brands. I think they're starting to clue in on that now, but you know, they've been looking, I think they've been looking in the wrong places for a really long time. They've been looking for like, oh, is that the Mac Collier, is that the Jay Bear? Oh, is that the, Jeannie Dietrich? It's like, but why do those who matter? Who's the Matt Collier? Who's the Cendrine of your business? Who's the, who is that big name? They don't have to have big numbers. They just have to be big in terms of, wow, they adore you. That's the one you want.
Yeah. Plus those super users, those big names like Mac and so on and so forth, they were small ones, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Everybody starts out somewhere. And it's, we've all started out. I remember, I think, and I have an affinity towards Mac because he was one of the first influencers, so to speak, who was nice to me, right? Like I remember he and Brian Kramer. I think with Matt Collier, I had 25 followers, and then I think I'd retweeted something, and he said thank you, and I was like, oh, me? Like I'm nobody, in terms of, because I mean, this was even, back in 2010, people are still talking about clout, right? What's your influence? I'm like, oh my God, my influence. I'm tweeting like crazy. I don't have any influence yet. I'm still at 0. And here's this, like Mac saying hi. And I was like, wow, I'm somebody. And then Brian Kramer, the same thing. And those are real people.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I had like 50 followers, right? And it didn't matter, but it does matter because you start out and that just seems like, oh, all of those silly numbers. It's just like, it's so depressing, right? And those are people who really, they truly, truly walk the talk. It's incredible. They're incredibly giving people. I don't think they've ever forgotten where they came from and where they started. And that exactly at one point, they also started with like the big 000, like on their Twitter. They started with with their family and friends on Facebook. And no, it's incredible. It's nice to see that people do still remember. And then they also value and support, the up and comers.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Going back to you just said, it's not about numbers. It's about interaction. It's about reaching out to people, thanking people. And is that the essence of community? People interacting, not just with the brand who sponsors the community, but with themselves.
I think so. I think if you were to say, Kelly, what's the one thing, what is success in a community? Mm-hmm. And I would say for me, success is when people are co-creating together. They've established those relationships and those friendships. They've made business deals. Yeah. They've started to write a book together. They've started their own Twitter chat together. They've gone off and spun off. They've created absolute collaborations and relationships. It's gone past the, hi, how are you? And, oh, great to see you again. But hey, let's take this offline. Let's talk. Here's my email, or, DM me, or however they communicate, let's WhatsApp. And they've created something on their own. And I think that's at the point when I started Biz Heroes, I left Paperly long before I handed over the community because the community wasn't ready to hand over yet. It was too soon. Not all of those signs were there yet. And then when I saw, this has its own legs now. People, regardless of if you say, hey, it's Biz Heroes time, or this is what's happening, or regardless of, who is the guest, people are coming together. They're leaving. They come together. The spontaneous, and that's what I love about Twitter, these spontaneous gatherings, like a flock of birds, right? And then they disband and they come together. But what's amazing is when they disband, they've created something and it's continuing. And I think that is the success of a community, when you can step back and those interactions can continue to happen. So it's not just they've responded to me on Twitter or they engage on Facebook. They're doing something together. Like they've gelled and they're moving forward. And I think that's for me, it was an amazing experience to see all of these like side ventures and to hear about them, because people would come back and say, I just got a gig here because of this person I met there, and this is fantastic, and thank you. And that's what community is about, right?
Indeed.
For me, it is. I think that's amazing.
I'm looking your way, Cendrine. Oh, right.
Oh, you do that so
Okay,
well. You have to position.
Yeah.
I'm looking your way.
So one question, you talk about successfully building a community and, building loyalty so that people come back no matter who is behind the Twitter chat, for example. So what is your number one tip to build a really, really winning community?
I think you have to be in it really, really, really 100%. I know. I think, and I've seen if it's half-hearted, people feel it and then they don't come. And then they know it's just this brand is having a chat, and they kind of feel the same way. It's like, you know what, I'm going to show up so I can get some visibility, and then that's it. See you next week. Yeah. So if you're only there showing up for that hour or for that time, or once a day to do your half an hour check on social media and give people like, oh, thanks, reply, and it's always at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, that's not a very homey feeling, right? So I think it's really, you've got to give. I think it always goes back to the old, like, when it comes to a breakfast, are you the chicken or the pig? Right? So the pig lays himself out. He's committed. The chicken produces an egg, but it's not quite the commitment of the pig, right? So I think when it comes to community building, you have to be a bit of a pig, really. You got to commit.
That's good to know.
There you go. Be a pig. Build a community. Be a pig. Well, okay, it might be a bit of a.
And just going with the same metaphor. You've got to get dirty. You've got to dig down deep and put in what you want to get out of it.
It's a pig rolling in the mud. Yeah. I agree. I think it's really rolling up your sleeves and you got to walk the talk. You got to like it, and that's why you really have to like people. It can't be. It can't be. I need to log on or I need to like check in. It's got to be like, my streams are open all the time. I love being there, and whatever that platform is. And I think that it's also a lot of times when companies think about what platform are we going for, it's like, well, if you're small, you need to think about the resources you have and where are those people? Because someone who absolutely thrives on Facebook, they're probably not going to love his Twitter as much. I love Twitter. Facebook, it's a bit of a pull for me. I'm not very good at it, to be honest. It doesn't feel the same. So I'd have to say I'm Twitter, and I can do others, but I'm Twitter. Some people do a lot of them and they do very well, and that's awesome. I don't know that there are a lot of people that are like that. I haven't met a lot of people who do many platforms very well. Though, Cendrine, you're pretty good. Yeah, I mean, you're G+, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, you've got your blog, LinkedIn, Twitter. You're pretty spread out there, and it's impressive.
I stalk the internet, but
you're a stalker. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know how you do it. I'm not consistent enough.
Well, like you are for a community, I'm committed to what I do. I do as you said, Stephen, the dirty work. Maybe I'm the pig, I don't know. But I'm committed, just like all of you are. Like the two of you are committed to what you're doing on Blab. You're committed, Stephen, and you're committed to Twitter. So that's what matters. But I'm very active on some platforms and not so active on others. So it really depends where my leads are. But like you, I'm a big Twitter fan. Absolutely, Twitter is my friend.
Yeah, no, it's great. I think it's tough, and what I've really found, and I think this experience with the small startup for me was very humbling. Where I thought, I've got this, and then I was like, I so do not have this. It's like, all right, pull myself back up. Super humbling experience, and it really grounded me. I think it very much grounded me. I didn't go in thinking, like, oh, we're going to make a rock star out of this, but I didn't think it would be so difficult. So it's been a really nice challenge, and I'll keep you updated on how it goes.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, that's the thing. The thing with technology and with things like Twitter and Facebook is that they've sort of grown and they're now part of business. Yeah. I've got the same feeling that that's going to happen to Blab.
I think you're right. Especially I think you're absolutely right, Stephen.
From yesterday, a couple of days ago, you can now run unlisted Blabs.
Oh,
which means When you set up a Blab, there's a new option which says unlisted. If you tick that, your Blab will not appear on your page, on the front page, or in any searches.
Wow. That's good.
Oh, how great is that for team work?
Exactly. So you can build a team room where you can bring 4 people on camera. You can chat about anything that you want. You've got text messages down the side. You can bring drop-ins to play videos. It's a game changer.
And that is a game changer. I agree. That's huge. That's really huge. That's very helpful. And I just think I really love the product development process. So I think right away product development and working with teams on developing where you need to be able to check in, and distributed teams being able to really see people. Yeah,
that's it. If you've got a development team for anything, you can bring them together.
I have a question. So if it's unlisted, do you still catch the Blab? Can you have the URL for later?
Oh, right. Okay. You get a unique URL which doesn't have your name. That's great. You copy and paste that into your Evernote, so you don't lose it, because you can come back and replay it on Blab anytime. Okay. You can still press the recording button, so you still get the YouTube video if you wish. Yeah.
Oh, that's huge.
And the beauty of it is, like Facebook and Twitter, it's free. Apart from the time you invest.
So, Stephen, I have a question for you for Blab and community. I mean, how many Blabs have you held now? I mean, you're a big blabber, in a good way, a big blabber.
Thank you. Right. Tomorrow sees the 20th episode of Blabbing for Britain with John Upton, and we've been going 20 weeks on that continuously. And also, as tonight with Cendrine and on my own, I've interviewed 38 people. So I've done roughly 60 hosted Blabs so far.
Congratulations.
I'm a bit late to the game because I only started the community on Facebook last week.
Okay.
Because like yourself, it's not the way the message was going out. I've been members of 2 other Facebook Blab communities, Blab Nation and Behind the Scenes Live. So I learned the ropes with them as to how they were dealing with Blab, and now I've created with John Upton and Angelica Blab for Britain. So we'll
that's cool. On that. And that's great. That's my time zone, so I can tune into Blabbing for Britain.
You can 10 o'clock.
Yeah, the problem for me is really, and maybe you have the same problem at times, is a lot of the Blabs I want to see, it's just not feasible on European timelines. But that's really interesting.
It is difficult because we miss out. Right. I mean, I'm a night owl, but even so, I wouldn't watch a midnight Blab.
Right.
I'm not that committed. Most times you get the replay, don't you?
And so, yes, you do. But it's not the same. Somehow I like live. Live is live and replay is after. Yeah. It's not in the moment, right? But I have a question. So what is your biggest takeaway that you would say from all of the interviews and all the time you've spent on Blab for community building? What's the one thing that really surprised you that you weren't expecting?
I've loved it from the day I started it. That's the first thing that surprised me, because I haven't done anything for 4 years since Google Hangouts, and we used to get together on a Sunday night, all points in the UK, and we just used to chat. But the Blab formula is just, it's the atmosphere. About the atmosphere tonight is one of being relaxed, because the 3 of us are on screen at one time. You don't feel like everybody's watching you. As far as I'm concerned, people are looking at yourself and Cendrine, not me. So it's not the Google Hangout thing is you big on the screen all the time. So that's one attraction for me. The other thing that I've taken away is that people enjoy being on here. And people enjoy watching, and they enjoy taking part in the text side, and they enjoy coming on camera. Although you mentioned earlier national differences, the British are a bit reticent to come on camera. I found that, especially when we've got that recording button going. But I've certainly enjoyed the last 6 to 8 months. I'm looking forward to see where it goes. But I've met a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people. People I knew when I started, and new people I've met through Blab. There must be 100 or so people I've met in the last 6 months who I've got to know reasonably well, and I can hop onto their shows and vice versa. So there is a real community around it. I think that's got to be said. That's come from the top. If you take Sean and mine's gone blank. Brittany. They've built the community. I've said myself there. Charlotte and Brittany have built the community. They've seen the community from the beginning, and they've sort of spread the word that this is the place to meet and greet and get to know people. You know,
right.
And I think that the final thing, that the two things which I think are absolutely brilliant, is the drop-ins. Yeah, because we were able to. I'm now doing a monthly show with a British software house called Thrive, and we chat about their software, but we can also drop in how-to videos from YouTube.
Oh, really?
And everybody's watching live can watch the how-to videos. Yeah.
Oh, seriously? Oh, yeah,
and
cool.
I've got a plan next month. There's an artist called Alina Filipova on Facebook, and she does some wonderful paintings. And the thing is, with the drop-in, we can actually show her paintings live on screen.
Okay, that's amazing. So when you say drop-in, Stephen, is it in the open seat? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Or this is incredible, because I didn't know that. And I think what's interesting is, you know, when we build community, I've said before, Twitter is more mine, and I've recently gone offline. So I do a lot of offline community building. I'm the vice president of an organization called Women in Digital Switzerland, and our goal is to really unite, because there are 4 different regions in Switzerland, 4 different languages, and 3 different regions, 4 different languages. And it's really to build a unified network across Switzerland. But to do that, it's very local. So we've started these local meetups. So it's about how can we leverage online, offline to do it. And again, you know, you get very specialized or focused on certain communities, and communities don't necessarily map over to other communities, right? So it's interesting, because someone had said, oh yeah, I think I'm just going to start, you know, a Blab, and then we can do that. And I was like, God, you know, think about that. Like, your community is on Facebook. I don't know that your entire community is going to move over to Blab, because not everybody enjoys real-time video. Not everybody can have sound in their office. Not everybody, you know, it's so many things to consider. And okay, so wait, what do we have here? One person calling in. So do I click on show callers, or? I see it says one person calling in on this empty spot. What is that?
Right, okay. That could be a Blab beta feature.
Oh, I see. Okay, I won't touch it.
I just made you host.
Oh, you did?
Yes, of course. I think Sandra and I both agreed that you know, we've really enjoyed tonight.
Oh, thank you.
We've been talking so much about so much useful information that I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Oh, I would love to. Well, thank you. I love, well, Cendrine knows, I love community.
Yes, you do.
I can't talk enough about it. No, I really do. And I think I just saw so many different ways, and I was privileged to work with so many wonderful people to help build product, and then also vice versa, use Paperly's assets to help so many different people, you know, with their business, help solve little problems, or, you know, kind of, I don't know, not bend rules, but I don't know. I think brands always have the ability to do something more than they do. So I used it to the community's advantage whenever I could, because I think brands sit in that very privileged and unique position of connecting the dots between people and being helpful. And I just saw that there are so many possibilities out there when a community or when a brand actually says, okay, let's see what we can do together, right? Yeah. And it's such an amazing experience, and so many amazing ideas that come out of it and process to talk about. I'm always so eager to share and blab.
Indeed. I mean, Cendrine and I have built our own separate communities, but we're also building this community together. And everybody who appears on the show becomes part of our community, automatic.
Well, it's been wonderful. I've really had a great time.
Right.
It was great to have you. Thank you very much for coming today.
You're welcome. And so I have to say, what I'm not accustomed to on Blab is I haven't once looked over at the right-hand side, and then I feel bad. Hi, Bruno. I see you there. I get so focused. Maybe I have to put on my glasses too when I'm blabbing so I can actually see the screen. It's like, oh, there you are. No, but you know, I look at people who are like, multitasking all the time. And I just think, oh my God, I'm just like, focus. I don't know, you guys. You guys are great hosts.
As you've demonstrated tonight, being focused is part of the key to being a successful community builder. If you don't focus and you fire all over the place, then all you've done is blow off steam. You've not actually created anything. And it's been wonderful tonight to listen to how it should be done. And I've got a lot of takeaways from this, and I'd just like to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was wonderful. I had a really good time. I'm very honored to be here.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was really good. Alrighty. Well, then I'll be looking for what's next with both of you and checking out so let's see. Yeah, I mean, this is a great time for me. I'll be popping into Blabs in the weeknights once I get the kids to bed. And Cendrine always knows it's my night times are a tough time for me. It's crazy. But I have to share something. Not only is Cendrine like social media aficionada and wonderful photographer and the list goes on, but she's a French teacher. May we? Yes, please. She actually, did you know? So this is something amazing too, and I have to share this. Is Cendrine gives me French lessons over Skype.
Oh my God! Here we go. I have to say, she is. I could not find an amazing teacher, instructor in Switzerland, so I had to go all the way to Winnipeg. Yeah. She uses a private jet to see me every day.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
The private Skype jet. But so this is incredible. And another wonderful use, and this came out of community, right?
Yeah.
So all of these great opportunities, and I think what's incredible is companies and people, I think we just as individuals, we don't think about it very often either, but everything we need, we can source from our community. I mean, you just don't need to look further than your own backyard. So I look all the time in my hand. Sorry, I've been cold. Community first, like, what am I looking for? Who could help me? How can I help someone else? I would never even go outside of a trusted group of people I know. And that's the same for companies too. I think community is kind of like that. What are those trees? The bilobaum? You know, the African trees that feed the villages.
Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it. But see, baobab?
Baobab. Exactly. The baobab trees. Baobabs, maybe. And community is kind of like that. It provides everything company needs or individuals. So French lessons, another example of community.
Excellent. And another example of how you make people feel special, because you mentioned me and everything. So a good example that people can take away with them to build community. So she walks the talk, which is why I love her so much. She taught me a lot about community building as well. So, and she's proving once again why she's so good. There you go.
Oh gosh, I'm blushing. Okay.
Before we switch off the recording, would you like to say thank you to everyone, Kelly? And then
thank you very much, Kelly.
Thank you both.
Right. Thank you everyone who's viewed us tonight. You can catch the replay later. Don't leave, because we're going to stay in these seats for a few moments. I'm switching recording off now. So thank you and good night or good afternoon, wherever you are. And you'll see from Cendrine and I in April when we're back with a very special guest.
Very.